What's up, YouTube? Let's get into this video today. And today I want to talk about expectations. Yeah, what do you know? Again. And what I want to talk about in expectations is I remembered a video that I made in the past. And I think I made it. I'm pretty sure I made it. But when I made it, I was thinking about what I said earlier while in that video. And I was thinking about it and I was like, it's very true. And I was just talking about the negative part about it. And I just talked about the part associated with how to solve it, but I never explained what it was really and how the expectation part of it. I never went into that emphasis. And today I'd like to get into that. And let's get into it today. So when you meet people, when you start a job, when you get into something new, a new relationship or something, you should always start with zero expectation. And it's weird, but it makes sense. And the quote I've said is, just because somebody should be a certain way, or just because somebody should do it, may be the exact opposite reason as to why they don't. So pretty much just because something should be a certain way will actually imply that actually it might be the opposite way. And that's really weird, but it is that way. Like, people should be kind. Do you see kind people often? No. And it will most likely be the opposite a lot of the times. People, we should all be millionaires. We should all live in luxury. We should all be happy. We should all, marriages should last forever. And I can go on, for a long time about that, explaining about how things should be, how this world should be. But the way it should be and the way it actually is can be very distant most of the time. And that's the thing, people go into things expecting the way it should be will be that way, which is very dangerous. You gotta learn that it will actually be the opposite, which is why you need to test it a lot and why you shouldn't expect it to be that way. And so the expectation part of it falls under no expectations in the beginning, to the developmental stages, to the end, where the expectation is now something great and it's something mature and it's something that exists. And it always starts at 0 to almost 0. And so something I was thinking about, and something that makes very good sense, is that it's the way that expectations work is like faith. And in the Bible, it talks about the development of faith as it gives a parable kind of analogy, or just an analogy of how it's like a mustard seed. And if we all know about mustard seeds, they're very small and they start very small. So expectations should be very small in the beginning a lot of the times. But as it goes on, as you view the expectation, you view the person, you meet the person, the expectations should start growing. And if they're not, you should just cut it off, or you should just cut it off, because it won't be good for you. You should, or stay away from it, because you need to grow with things that you're around. So in the beginning, it starts with little to no expectations. And as you continue to know it, and you continue to communicate with it and explain to it what your expectations are, or begin to familiarize with it and start to see what it's capable of and all of that, then the expectations should grow. In a marriage, when you marry somebody, or when you're getting to know them, you start to make a checkoff list. Say in the beginning they're very lazy, they don't like to clean, they don't like to do all that, they don't like to work, they're a bunch of untapped potential. You don't want to start a project where you have to raise a kid yourself to marry them one day. You say goodbye, check off, I'm out of here, peace out. I don't feel like raising a kid or training you up. This isn't no Zoom that movie where Tim Allen has to raise all these kids to do their superpowers. No, find somebody who's already at your level. So you check it off, expectation gone. I didn't lose anything. Go on to the next. You find a girl again. She respects her parents. She respects her little siblings. She respects the poor people. Who knows? That's something you like. She maybe cooks. She cleans. She works hard. And you're like, I want this lady for my house. I wanna. She doesn't flirt with other guys. She's cool. She she doesn't try to top you every day on terms of trying to be a better man than you. And she understands that that she wants to compliment you, and she wants you to compliment her very well. That's the kind of girl you want. So then what do? Expectations met, expectations met, expectations met. We start married, we get married, and then what? The expectations just grow and grow. And then you start to write them down. I have these expectations. I want my kids to be successful. I want them to eat. I want my family to eat. I want a bigger house. So what happens? It gets from a process. It starts at zero. It starts very small, and it begins to grow. And I'll give you another example. When you have the children, you have a son. He's small. You don't expect him to be potty trained when he's born. You don't expect him to know calculus. You don't expect him to speak. You don't expect him to do any of that. And if you do, you have a genius. You have a genius. And if you expect him to as well, you may have a mental disorder, because I've never seen one kid that could speak when he's born or walk or any of that. You're delusional. So see how that works? That's exactly how expectation should always work. Start at zero and grow and develop, and then become something very beautiful that you have, um, that is constantly working. See, you never get that if you don't have expectations ever. You get growth, and you get a process, a beautiful process, because that process is a process of discipline, disciplinary growth, character building, um, a process of failure where you get to see that you overcome your failures. And that's so beautiful. Who wouldn't want that? And if you say I don't have expectations ever, you never get that. You never get the development. You never get all these things. Because what? Because your expectations never grew. They were never like the seed. They were never like the seed of a mustard seed that becomes small, and as you water it, it grows and it grows and it grows, and it becomes something that's just beautiful. It's a process. It's a journey, and that's why we shouldn't neglect it. But we shouldn't have our expectations high at the beginning. It should always be like, oh yeah, just because it should be that way, remember that. Just because it should be a certain way means that it will most oftentimes be the opposite way. Should we feed homeless every day? Yes. Should we all have jobs where we make $1 million a day? Should everybody have a job in America? Yes. Should everybody be healthy? Yes. Should um, well, you get the point, right? Should gas be cheap? Yes. Should this or that or that or that? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Should things be a certain way? Should your girl, say you get married, should your wife um, stay married to you? Yes. Well, see, when you begin to have no expectations, she might just leave you, and you might be like, oh, I don't know why, what happened? But you never had the expectation of her staying. You guys never had that communication of, this is what I expect from you. You expect this from me. We're gonna stay together. We expect this together. No, but when you're like, oh, I don't have any expectations. She goes out every night at mid, comes back at 2 in the morning. You're like, well, she's like, well, you don't have the expectations. We don't have any expectations. We don't have any communication and all that. What happens is, um, things just start to fall apart. And we don't understand why until we realize that we never had the expectation or communicated it or let it develop right in the beginning. So we really got to be conscious of expectations. We should, because that's the beginning, that's the first step, and that helps, and that parallels very well with faith. It parallels very well with faith. And yeah, in the beginning, remember, it's going to be small, but then you start to understand what it could be, and you start to say this is going to be the process, and then you start to execute on every stage, and you fail, go through it, but it becomes what it should be at the end. It doesn't stay at what it should be this way. It won't stay at the, it'll get to the calculus level of math, and it will get to the full tree of the mustard seed, or I don't know what a mustard, honestly I don't even know what a mustard seed, how, if it becomes a tree or something. I think it becomes a large tree. It will get to the to the to the successful part of whatever it needs. A car begins as a vision, a house begins as a blueprint, but it will become the mansion that it needs to be. It will become the skyscraper that it was meant to be. It will become the airplane that could fly all the way to space. It will become the most successful thing you can imagine if it continues. So yeah, with that being said, bless, like and subscribe. Be blessed, and see you guys soon. Peace.